What is up guys, how's it going? In this video I'm going to be reviewing the Apple iPhone 5C from Rogers. Now just a little disclaimer before we get into the review video. I had never used an iOS device before the iPhone 5C, which was lent to me from Rogers, so I had no experience with iOS, any of the previous iPhones. I am familiar with Mac OS, but I had never used an iPad or an iPhone before. So anyways, apart from that, let's go ahead and let's take a look at the iPhone 5C. On the right hand side of the device, you've got the volume buttons along with the dedicated vibration on and off button. On the very right hand of the device is where you'd find the nano SIM card slot. On the very top is the power button, and on the very bottom is where you'd find the 3.5mm headphone jack along with the speakerphone and the charging port. On the front is where the device's 4.0-inch IPS LCD screen is, and the screen has a pixel per inch density of 326, and on the front is also where you'd find the 1.2 megapixel front-facing camera. On the back you've got the 8 megapixel camera along with the LED flash, and it's also where the 1510 mAh non-removable battery lays. As far as the build quality goes of the 5C, it's made relatively out of plastic material. The plastic runs all around the device, and it's also the reason why it's light. It weighs in at around 130 grams. Now, as far as specs go, it's running Apple's A6 dual-core 1.3 GHz processor. It's got 1 GB of RAM. It comes in and at storage variants of 16, 32, and 64 gigabytes. And keep in mind though, the price goes obviously higher depending on the storage choice you choose. And no, it does not have a micro SD card, unfortunately. So if you're looking for something a lot bigger than 64 gigs, then the cloud is your friend. For software, it's running iOS 7, so as you all may know, iOS 7 brought in some new features such as quick toggle, which can be accessed by just simply swiping from the bottom to the top. You've got all your quick settings, your brightness, your Wi-Fi, your torch, Bluetooth, and all that good stuff in your quick toggle. You've also got your notification shade up top when you can see all your notifications or your agenda or your calendar appointments for the day. Personally, I really liked the animations that were going on in iOS 7. When you open an app, it sort of dives right in, and then when you come out, it dives right back out. So all those little things seemed pretty cool and pretty nifty, but it does add some time to opening apps, so that's a bummer. But overall, the animations just feel really smooth, and that makes the device feel nice when you're using it. As far as the camera goes, the 8 megapixel shooter did a quite decent job. It took good pictures. They weren't obviously not as good as probably the new S5 or the LG G3, but they were decent pictures. They were alright, and it had really nice contrast, really nice colors, and I think the camera was actually good for an 8 megapixel shooter. The camera software was also really decent. There were a set of modes you can choose from. You can choose panorama, a square mode. There was a regular photo mode and also a video mode. You can turn HDR on and off. You can turn your flash on and off. There were also a bunch of filters that you can use, and the rear-facing camera was good for shooting 1080p video at 30 frames per second, while the front-facing camera was good for shooting 720p video at 30 frames per second. And also, as you can notice, as soon as I hit the shutter button, it took a picture right away. It was actually really fast and probably one of the snappiest camera phones I've ever used. As far as apps go, I'd say it would be crazy to talk about the Apple App Store, because the Apple App Store is full of apps, and it has some of the most nicest and premium apps which are Apple exclusive only. I actually hate exclusivity, and I wish apps are available on all devices so that everyone can equally enjoy apps just as much. But some developers do it well, they're probably paid for it, but anyways, you can find tons of apps here. Apps are not lacking on the Apple Store or the Apple App Store. There are tons of apps, games, probably anything you can think of has an app on the Apple App Store. It's just like Android. I would say Android and Apple are equally as good when it comes to apps. Now, as far as performance goes, the iPhone 5C did a very good job. I was actually surprised. It performed very well. Any app I opened was very fluid. Multitasking was also a breeze. But now I also want to touch on a point that some people sort of claim that apps don't crash on Apple. That's not true. Google Plus almost crashed on me every day. I don't know if you'd like to blame Google, the developer, for this, but anyways, it was an app on the iPhone and it was crashing, so it is not true that apps not crashing is something absurd with an iPhone, because it does happen. It happens everywhere, and it happens over here too. But overall, performance was very good, very smooth, very fluid. Gaming was also a breeze. I played a ton of games, different games. I played Dead Trigger 2, I played some racing games, a lot of games, and fortunately there was no crash in any of the games. It handled games very well, very, very well, I'd say. The keyboard on the 5C was also good. It pretty much predicted the correct words for me 80% of the time, so I'm impressed by that. Although I did wish that SwiftKey and Google Keyboard, for instance, was available here, but I'm happy that Apple has opened the road for developers to be able to make keys for iPhones in iOS 8, so I look forward to that. Now, for a quick size comparison, here is the LG G2 next to the iPhone 5C, and as you can see, the G2 has a quite bigger screen. The Nexus 4, which is, I'd say now you can say it's a small Android device, it has a quite bigger screen as well, and I've been spoiled by Android devices that have large displays. I've been using the Nexus 4, the LG G2, the Note 3, so the 5C actually felt really tiny in my hands. It was a little hard to get used to, and it wasn't as good to watch movies or YouTube. I found it to be really tiny, and I just didn't like it. Overall, I would love a 5-inch or 5.5-inch iPhone 6 or 6S or whatever, but anyways, we'll find that out by the end of the year. Now, to conclude my review, I believe the 5C is a very powerful and small device, but in terms of its screen size, I'd say it's quite small when compared to other major flagships from other devices, which are selling a lot more than the 5S and the 5C. But overall, I really enjoyed my experience with the 5C, and I would definitely look forward to the iPhone 6C or 6S or whatever they release. And anyways, guys, that's pretty much it for this review. If you liked it, please feel free to give it a thumbs up, and do subscribe to me to stay tuned to more of my stuff. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and also feel free to follow me on any of my social networks. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.